Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel and welcome to another War Thunder video. Today, although you will see me in the background a little bit, we are going to be looking at a replay from one of my moderators, Pedro, or Zokher as his in-game name is. I will be referring to him as Pedro just because that's what I always call him, so it's just easier for me. Today, Pedro is going to be playing in his T-32, which is one of the better heavy tanks in the game, at least if you get top tier. If you get up tiered to 8.3, I would not recommend taking this thing out at all unless it's like your last vehicle in your lineup that you can use. What's good about the T-32 though? Well, it has good frontal armor, especially on the turret front. This has one of the strongest turrets in the entire game. The hull armor is okay. It's not exceptional, but it's good enough to block a lot of the stuff that you will face, except for around the machine gun port and the lower plate. The T-32E1, which is the 7.7 version of this vehicle, has a much better hull, with it eliminating that machine gun port and having a flat, more well-armored lower plate, which, although it does make it better in theory, in practice, I find that that thing is actually less survivable than this just because you face off against heat so much, whereas with the 7.3 T-32, you face off against it a little bit less, at least in terms of high penetration heat. The turret on this thing can absorb things like the Walker Bulldog's heat, which the German Walker Bulldog gets, and other stuff sort of like that, BMPs to some extent. It's not going to shrug off most heat shells, but if they hit at a weird angle, the turret can absorb them, but the hull, they'll just punch right through like it's not even there. Other good things about the T-32. There's not a whole heck of a lot. It's decently mobile. The side armor is weak, as with all other American heavy tanks, and most American tanks in general. The gun is a bit of a mixed bag. The long 90mm is not terrible at 7.3, but it's a heck of a lot better at 6.7, where you get it on the Super Pershing. And I would say, in general, the Super Pershing is a better vehicle than the T-32. Not that the T-32 is bad, but I just kind of preferred the Super Pershing, at least when it was at 6.3. I haven't used it since, because why would I use the Super Pershing over the T-34 or T-30? There's just, to me, there's not much reason to do that. But enough about the vehicle. Let's talk a little bit about what Pedro's going to be doing in the vehicle today, and I'm going to be skipping ahead in just a couple minutes here because he kind of sits here for a while after killing those vehicles. But he's already claimed one victim, and very nearly gotten another, and he's pretty much going to be using this vehicle very well as a defensive vehicle and aggressive at the same time. It's kind of combining the two aspects we talked about in recent videos. Both that aggressive playstyle in my 268 video and the defensive playstyle in the M60 video. When you combine both of those, you essentially get this. Top it off with a little bit of anti-aircraft machine gunnery, and he did quite well this match. Me, not so much. You'll see me in the background over there. I probably already died in my Leopard, and I just did not have a good match this time around. But I think we're going to jump ahead here because Pedro's going to kind of watch this area. Not a whole heck of a lot's going to happen, so not much reason to watch what happens when he's just kind of watching for enemy vehicles to push up. Alright, as you can see, Pedro has moved up from the position he was using to be hull down over by the other side of the objective. That's a very good position to take. I have to give him some props for that, especially in this vehicle. As I was talking about earlier, that turret armor makes it extremely good at being hull down, coupled with the decent gun depression. But now he is pushed up because obviously the enemies aren't really there, so no reason to hang around. And he's able to snap a shot into the SU-100. The breach seems to have completely blocked without taking any damage, the APHE filler, so go figure. But now he's going to start heading back towards our spawn because we are being spawn camped by an STA-1. And keep in mind the little markers that you can see above the vehicle, we couldn't actually see these in the battle because this is a realistic battle. So I know it's bad. The replay file doesn't let me hide them. I can either click on it and hide every single one so you couldn't see friendly vehicles and differentiate them from the enemies, or you have to see all of them. So I go for the all of them because it's better than you not being able to tell if it's an enemy or a friendly. So yes, Pedro is headed back towards our spawn because, as you can see, I'm over in the Kugelblitz there, And we're getting spawn camped by a T-44 and an STA-1, I believe. Maybe an STA-2, I can't remember. And he is firing into our spawn because although Fire Arc did fix a lot of the issues that Kursk had, and by that I mean it didn't really fix any of them, it did make the center a little bit better, so I'll give Gaijin props for that. But the C point and the A point really didn't change enough to make this map better than it used to be. I kind of preferred the old Kursk because at least it was... I don't know, at least I could predict where the enemy vehicles were going to go, but you still can for the most part. And yeah, you can kind of move around the C point and just snipe into the friendly spawn here. It's just not good. As you can see, we have the STA-1 sitting in the open field. He really should have been sitting behind that little berm there, but didn't matter because I couldn't pen him anyways. But Pedro is able to, so good news there. You can see a lot of enemies crawling in over here, and this is kind of the issue that I have with Kursk. It's just such an open map. Yeah, there's a lot of terrain differences and stuff, but I don't know. I liked the older version of the map, partly just because it wasn't terrible. It did need work, though, but I don't think the things Gaijin changed helped. I really think they should have taken some time and reworked the A points, because all they did, they actually made A worse, because now there's the railroad tracks that run along there that you can sit hull down behind and snipe on one side, and I don't think the other side gets anything, so they're just driving through an open field. And for C is a little bit better because it used to just be an open field. Now there is some terrain dips, so you can actually get into cover a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's mixed bag. Let me know what you think. I personally think that a lot of the newer maps and reworks of maps that Gaijin have done are just not very good. Their maps have never been exceptionally great, but they just have taken a drop in quality for sure. As you can tell, I'm just trying to fill time here while Pedro makes his way back over to the B point, which does take a little while because T-32, not the fastest tank. It is decently quick, but not the fastest. Takes a shot off the upper hull. It looks like that was probably the Su-100P, which he can't see because he's too in the bushes there. He keeps checking to his right, thinking there might be an enemy there, which I think he probably saw something off in the distance, but he's probably dead at this point. And he's still trying to find that Su-100, but he's so well bushed up there. I'm surprised the Su-100 could actually see him. I'm guessing he was firing using his binos, but there's really no way that he could see through there with his just his gun sight, I don't think. That's probably why he was bouncing so much and couldn't get a better aimed shot. But Pedro seems to have seen that IS-2 off on the other side, so he's not going to push up because, as I said before, the side armor on this thing is not exceptionally great. So one shot from the IS-2 will most likely kill him. But now the IS-2 has fired, and he catches sight of the Su-100. Tries to machine gun him, because you don't want that thing slipping away. Those Su-100s are quite speedy, so they can get around on you pretty quick. But IS-2 is now dead, and so is the Su-100P, so just wait for the reload, and then it will be time to move in shortly. We're going to see pretty soon Pedro start to open up with this 50 cal on the roof and just start to engage enemy aircraft to quite good effect. But first he's going to eliminate the two S3M, which those things are so annoying. I despise them. I'm not saying they're overpowered, but the little artillery things annoy me quite a bit, especially considering that thing's 6.3 when all of the other ones are like 6.7 or higher. Just a little extra bit of me complaining there for today. That's what you guys click on these videos for, right? So Pedro's now moving in on the B point. We have resecured it, so we have all three caps. And as I mentioned in the M60 video, now is really not the time to advance on the enemy spawn. Yeah, we probably could. We've got enough vehicles, we've got enough tickets, but probably better to just do what we can and secure the points that we have and keep them from getting to us as Pedro takes down his first plane. Swings around and gets the second one. Looks like he may have actually clipped the bomb of that Ki-61. And he moves on to now shooting at this Tu-2S as I get shot down by an IS-2 in my Arado. I think he actually got me with the main gun because my plane absolutely detonated. And I don't think that was an IS-2 with the roof-mounted Dishka. So, yeah, good shot on his part. I couldn't really be mad about that. I came in too low and too straight for him to not take that advantage. So Pedro is now up to 4 kills and 2 aircraft, but he's not quite done yet, because he's going to take position here and hold this B point for the remainder of the match. You can see scanning the skies. There were more planes up, but I believe most of them are down at the moment. So you definitely don't want to let things sneak up on you in this. Oh, looks like the TU-2 is still up. That must have been what he was scanning for. Because things like that TU-2 or anything with bombs, big threat to you in a heavy tank, which is kind of what makes the American heavies, as he pilot snipes another plane. But the 50 cals are one of the things that really set American vehicles and American heavy tanks in general apart, because having that 50 cal on the roof, sure, the Germans get the MG34 or MG42 depending on the vehicle, but it is not the same as the 50 cal in terms of effectiveness against planes. And when you're in a heavy tank, planes are one of the biggest threats to you. A heavy tank or a heavy tank destroyer. So having a roof-mounted 50 cal, ooh, terrible shot there, but that was a quick snapshot, so can't really fault him for that. But yeah, just having those heavy machine guns, whether it be the Russian 12.7s or 14.5s or the American 50 cals, it just makes such a huge difference when you're dealing with enemy planes or even lightly armored vehicles, because you can punch through around 20 millimeters of armor, I believe, with those 50 cals, and it's very, very good. If you don't have a 50 cal on your vehicles and you haven't tried the American ones, I highly recommend doing so, because you will be surprised at how much it opens up the door to new possibilities when you're engaging enemies, especially when it comes to SPAA, because the last thing you want to do when you're using a tank like this is waste a full shot on a vehicle that you don't need to, and the heavy machine guns allow you to refrain from doing that at times. So for the remainder of this battle, as you can see, we have 2 big boys coming in, Type 75 SPH and FV4005. I'm going to be acting as sort of a second commander for Pedro here, because I was spectating him, kind of calling out targets, because I could kind of see over things a little bit better from my spectator camera, and kind of calling out targets. He doesn't really need the help too much, but, you know, if you're in this situation with a squad mate, it always helps to just kind of give them a heads up of things that you might see, because you never know. You might catch something sneaking up on their side that they don't see. This now brings Pedro's total up to 9 kills in his T-32 without losing a single crew member. Very, very impressive. It would be a little more impressive if we were in a bottom tier game at 8.3, but impressive nonetheless. You can't fault that when you get into a position like this with a vehicle like this. It's just, oh, it is so satisfying when you're able to eliminate the enemies pushing in. And here comes yet another TU-1 this time, another aircraft. Pedro's going at it, trying to get that 50 cal kill. No luck, a little bit too fast, didn't get the guns on him in time. Sometimes the 50 cals are a little tricky to aim. And while we wait for Pedro to find his next target, I will give a little bit of a tip here. If you guys are used to these vehicles, or what am I saying? If you guys enjoy using vehicles with a roof-mounted 50 cal, and you haven't done it already, I highly, highly recommend you go into your settings and bind a specific key to let you take control of your heavy machine gun. It helps on so many vehicles, because just having the ability to keep your turret aimed forward and swap to that 50 cal and gun down planes or lightly armored vehicles, it is a lifesaver in some situations, because you can keep the gun set on a target, and then let's say there's a tiger in front of you, and you're aiming your T-32 at the tiger, but there's a plane coming in above you. Swap to the 50 cal, you can engage the plane, and then if the tiger starts to advance on you, you can just hit whatever button you have to reset your key to the main gun, which I think I have mine set to my middle mouse button, and then you can immediately swap back to engage them. So, just something to keep in mind, as Pedro claims his 8th kill, and one of the planes that he had shot went down, so he is at 4 air kills, 8 ground kills, and he is going to get, I believe, 1 more before this battle is done. Don't remember which one it was, but a very, very well played game for him, and yeah, I did not have as good of luck as he did, as he claims his final victim, the poor little ASU-85, who really didn't stand a chance against the 90mm from the side. So, What do you guys think of this vehicle? I would be very interested to know in the comments. And if you have a replay you would like me to put a commentary over, I know I'm not the best at it now, but I'm doing my best to get more practice with them. So hopefully in the future I will get better. But if you have a replay you would like me to watch and potentially cover, go to my Discord. There's a link in the description for you to join, and go to the submissions chat and you can place your replay in there, as Pedro very nearly gets yet another plane kill, but the battle ends just a little bit before he can, and I think he got a little greedy trying to get the main gun kill there instead of using the 50 cals. But a very well played game to him, and I will see you all in the next video.